University of Moldova. Today I will make a presentation about bilateral relations, which are mostly based on economic relations between Bulgaria and Turkey. And I will open my screen. 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
1 minute. Sorry. Görünüm. And okay. So, something is wrong. I don't know. It can't. Okay. I can't open my screen. I don't know why. Allah Allah, açılmıyor ya. I'm sorry for delay because I can't open my screen. Okay, let's begin. Bulgaria and Turkey are two friendly, neighboring and allied countries today, which also have common culture, border and coast on the Black Sea. Bulgarian Turks play an important bridge role in bilateral relations, and these relations have significantly developed in the post-Cold War era and have gained momentum, especially in the last 2 decades. Countries' partnership has been at strategic level since 2012, when Turkey-Bulgaria High-Level Cooperation Council was established. In this sense, both countries cooperate in political, economic, military, and socio-cultural fields. Both countries also play an active role in regional and international cooperation. The most outstanding tools specific to Turkey and Bulgaria in this context can be considered as the Black Sea Economic Cooperation and Bulgaria-Turkey Cross-Border Cooperation Program. The Black Sea Economic Cooperation Program is an international organization that aims economic and political cooperation between member countries. The organization has currently 11 founding members, including Turkey and Bulgaria. Bulgaria-Turkey Cross-Border Cooperation Program is an important European Union program aiming to ensure sustainable and steady development based on fundamental points, where both countries are strong in the field of cross-border cooperation to serve a stronger European cooperation and integration. In this context, Burgas, Yambol, and Haskova districts in Bulgaria, as well as Kırklareli and Edirne provinces of Turkey, were involved as part of the program. Apart from these tools, both countries meet on many other global platforms, initially for their national interests and development, and for cooperation with other states, and where they can also support each other. NATO, Council of Europe, and United Nations can be counted as some of the most important global organizations that Turkey and Bulgaria meet. Economy of Bulgaria has shown a significant change over the last 3 decades. Today, it's a free market economy, and important reforms such as enhancement of tax system, privatization of state-owned enterprises, trade liberalization were observed in economy of the country in order for market transition and meeting European Union conditions after the socialist regime. Today, Bulgaria is the 73rd largest economy in the world. Unlike the planned and centralized economy of Bulgaria during the socialist regime, Turkey adopted import substituting economic policies until 1970s. And such as Bulgaria, it has started to implement export-led and outward-oriented economic policies. And also, such as Bulgaria, Turkey has a free market economy today. But considering land area, population, and labor force, Turkey has a larger economy than Bulgaria. Turkey is a member of G20 today, and the country is the 19th largest economy in the world and the 8th largest economy in Europe. If we look at this figure, when economies of Bulgaria were generally compared based on some fundamental indicators, we can see that Turkish economy showed a stronger growth performance, as you see here, particularly after the global recession. However, it struggled with high inflation and unemployment rates contrary to Bulgarian economy. Both economies are expected to shrink significantly in this year, but they are also estimated to make a progress gradually in 2021, so next year. With regards to economic bilateral investment relations, both Bulgaria and Turkey intend to develop economic and investment relations within the frame of win-win approach. Considering in terms of economy, both parties envisage to develop cooperation on strategic fields. By this year, number of Turkish capitalized Bulgarian companies were over 2,000, which invested around 2.5 billion euros. Accordingly, it's possible to state that Turkey provided employment opportunities for Bulgarian citizens. These investments were mostly focused on aluminium processing industries, automotive, glass, construction, health, and energy sector. In terms of energy, there is an important potential, particularly in the fields of natural gas and electric energy. Bulgaria is the leading electricity exporter in Southeast Europe and the eighth largest electricity exporter of the European Union. That's why it has a crucial role in energy balance on the Balkans. Accordingly, energy sector of the country is based on electricity generation. Bulgaria's electricity has importance for Turkey as well, because the country is the main electricity supplier of Turkey. It has also the third largest share in Turkey's electricity exportation. Turkey's unique location between Asia and Europe turn it into a transit country between main suppliers and consumers, which also further contributed its ambition to become an energy hub. On the other hand, Bulgaria also has a geostrategic location that makes it an important potential hub for distribution and transition of natural gas to Europe and the Balkans, from Russia and maybe in the future from the Caspian Basin through Turkey as well. The Lozenets-Nedlyasko natural gas pipeline here connecting Bulgaria with Turkey was completed in 2018, which was built in order to increase the Trans-Balkan pipeline's capacity as well as to enable natural gas export to Europe. By virtue of this pipeline, the line between Turkey and Bulgaria was merged. It's here also necessary to state that Turkey has recently discovered the natural gas reserve in the Black Sea, which was estimated to hold about 320 billion cubic meters of natural gas. However, the government stated that new discoveries in nearby areas were very likely. On one hand, Turkey plans to provide this discovered gas for public use in 2023. On the other hand, it may become an exporter with these possible explorations. In such a case, neighboring countries may benefit from Turkish imports at the first stage. Since Bulgaria is neighboring with Turkey and it has a significant dependence on foreign sources, possible Turkish imports may contribute to Bulgaria's supplies. But this option might be selected only in the long term. Bulgaria and Turkey give particular importance to tourism for national development as well as to further develop bilateral relations. Countries signed a cooperation agreement on tourism in 1997. Within the frame of bilateral tourism figures, Bulgaria had the third largest number of tourists who visited Turkey in last year by 9.7% after Russia and Germany. However, the country jumped to the second place in the first 7 months of this year. On the other hand, Turkey was the second tourist-generating country in Bulgaria by almost 13%. In terms of foreign trade, there's a comprehensive foreign trade relationship between Turkey and Bulgaria. Bilateral trade has been carried out within the frame of customs union since Bulgaria's full European Union membership. As you see on the table and the figure, there was a significant decline, around 21% in foreign trade volume between 2007 and 2009, when global financial crisis emerged. Although Turkish economy started to recover rapidly between 2010 and 2015, Turkey started to have a trade deficit. However, between 2015 and 2019, this trend reversed. In that period, when Turkey had the trade deficit, it was averaged around $839 billion. But today, foreign trade volume of Turkey and Bulgaria reached over $5 billion. But considering the first 7 months of this year, foreign trade volume contracted by 14% due to negative impacts of the coronavirus pandemic compared to the same period of previous year. In this sense, Turkey started to have a deficit again due to declining demand. If this trend remains, bilateral trade is expected to develop against Turkey. With regards to foreign trade partners, Bulgaria's share in Turkey's total foreign trade was 1.29% last year. It showed a slight increase by 1.32% in the first 7 months of this year. However, Turkey has a more significant share in Bulgaria's total foreign trade. By last year, Turkey is the fourth largest trade partner of Bulgaria after Germany, Romania, and Italy. It's also fourth major export partner and the fifth largest import source of the country. As already seen in these figures, bilateral foreign trade between Turkey and Bulgaria mostly consists of industrial goods. Turkey's main export items were iron and steel, textile and machinery, and Bulgaria's primary export products were mineral fuels, copper, and articles of iron and steel. In short, foreign trade of the two countries could have reached a higher volume with contributions of Turkey's exports to Bulgaria. In this sense, unfortunately, signs of the Bulgarian market, relatively low purchasing power of Bulgarian citizens, difficulties faced by domestic importers in getting loans, and ease of trading for Bulgarian citizens with European Union members due to single market principle of the Union, and customs union's exclusion of agricultural products were several reasons prevent to discover the real trade potential between the two neighboring states. As we see on the table, share of agriculture in national economies of both Turkey and Bulgaria declined. However, despite its declining share, it has a significant impact on industrial sector and other sectors, and it will always be an irreplaceable sector for both countries in terms of employment and meeting the fundamental needs of their citizens, including nutrition, dressing, or heating. Trade of agriculture sector is also strategic for both countries in terms of narrowing foreign trade deficit. Because the sector, as you see here, the sector has trade surplus in both economies, which means that exportation meets the country's importation. And this shows us that they have an important production and export capacity in this sector. And share of agricultural trade in total foreign trade of Bulgaria and Turkey were 15% and 11% respectively. When we look at bilateral agricultural trade of Turkey and Bulgaria, we see that Turkey had foreign trade deficit. However, Turkey narrowed its trade deficit by 58% in 2018 compared to 2017. But contrary to that, bilateral agricultural trade volume showed a slight growth by 1%. We can also see that Turkey's general share in total foreign agricultural trade of Bulgaria grew to a certain extent. But considering Turkey's export volumes in total foreign trade and foreign trade of agricultural products and the geographic proximity between Bulgaria and Turkey, these numbers don't reflect the real potential. Turkey's export capacity is quite higher than Bulgaria's import potential in almost all product lines. In other words, being the 25th largest export economy of the world, Turkey has a great potential to meet a large proportion of Bulgaria's importation of agricultural products. However, Bulgaria's share in Turkey's agricultural exports was only 0.9% in 2018, and more than one third of agricultural products, it was about 79%, they were provided by European unions due to favorable conditions provided by the single market. This is potential agricultural product groups for Turkey to export to Bulgaria. For example, when we look at bilateral as we see on the table, the Bulgarian import market offers great opportunities for Turkey in numerous product groups in agricultural, food and beverage sectors, which Turkey already has exported to the world in high numbers. In this sense, share of fish, fresh and chilled vegetables, legumes, fresh and dried citrus fruits, and chocolate and other food preparations containing cacao significantly declined in Bulgaria's imports last year. However, average tariff rates of these products were quite low to a certain extent. Mostly, they were averaged between 0% and 0.9%. Contrary to low tariff rates, there was observed a remarkable situation in tomato export of Turkey. Turkey was Bulgaria's top tomato importer. However, it had the highest rate of tariffs. Here you see. For instance, Albania, which wasn't a European Union member, and was the fourth largest exporter of the tomato to Bulgaria, didn't pay tariffs in last year. The similar situation was seen in Turkey's export of biscuits. Where is it? Sorry. Okay, here. Similar situation was seen in Turkey's exports of biscuits, pastries, and cakes. In this sense, Turkey's total exportation of these products to the world was valued over billion, which was also the second highest amount in total exportation of potential products. However, its share in Bulgaria's imports remained low, mostly caused by tariff rates, because Turkey's top export rivals of these products were European Union members again. On the other hand, Turkey's nuts exportation had the highest value, which accounted over $1.5 billion. However, its share was only around 1% in Bulgaria's total imports. While Turkey was the fourth largest nuts exporter to Bulgaria, its main rivals were United States, Greece, Ukraine, and Germany. The United States had the highest tariff rates by 2.3%, and Turkey paid only 0.6%. This situation gives Turkey a chance to increase its market share through its geographic proximity, production, and export capacity. As we see that Bulgaria's strong import demand from member countries due to free movement of goods, easier access to suppliers, lower costs arising from the union's single market policy, leading to decline of Turkey's market share, and high tariffs and costs seem some of important risks preventing further exportation of Turkey to Bulgaria. On the other hand, Turkey's geographic proximity, its product range, and export capacity give opportunities to both economies, especially in terms of enhancing the capacities of bilateral trade volume and market competitiveness. This situation will also make a major contribution to the country's economies. That's why both Turkey and Bulgaria should focus on legs in development of foreign trade and give way to make necessary regulations for certificates and other documents, and further decline tariffs and other costs that might help to increase foreign trade and other relations related to the economy. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. We learned very much, so many things from you. Does anyone have a question about the issue, about the presentation? I think they don't have. Okay. Thank you for your presentation again.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too.
For the next presentation, does Theodora Popova or Mariana Vergieva here? I think not. Then we will continue with Professor Kirill Borisov.
I'm not professor, thanks.
Okay.
I'm doctor.
Dr. Kirill Borisov. Okay. Welcome.
Yeah.
And we are waiting your presentation.
Thank you. Everybody see my window?
Yeah, we can see financing of sports by municipalities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dear colleagues, I present my report on topic financing of sports by municipalities. My name is Dr. Kirill Borisov. I'm lecturer at the Professional College of Health and Sports, Plovdiv City, Bulgaria. Let's begin. Municipalities have a great role and merit for the development of sports. They are relied on the cover the population in mass sports and to discover future sports talents. This is the case everywhere in the world. I will focus first on the peculiarities of the financing of sports by municipalities in some of the most developed countries in the world. Germany is an example of the most active role of municipalities in the development of sports. The federal states in Germany work closely with the federal government and national sport organizations. There are different sports support programs in the country which differ in his historical, financial, and territorial features. These programs solve four main tasks in the federal states. Assistance in the construction of sport facilities, development of sports and schools and universities, assistance to sports organizations and clubs, and aid for special target groups. In Great Britain, tasks such as improvement of the sports and entertainment services offered in the city, coordination of sports and entertainment activities with environmental protection measures, improving the awareness of the citizens about the provided services, including in the field of physical education and sport. The tasks to be solved by the local authorities in Spain can be illustrated by the example of the province of Catalonia. According to Article 38 of the Sports Act of 1988 in Catalonia, the competences of many municipalities include matters of the general development of physical culture and autonomous sport, in particular school sport, the promotion of extracurricular sport activities with a view to improving health, construction and modernizations of sport facilities, monitoring the maximum use of existing sport facilities, cooperation with all public and private institutions for the performance of the tasks determined by this law. In many municipalities in Italy, there are commissions for sports and outdoor games. The tasks of these committees include the following issues: providing all citizens with necessary conditions for sports and exercise, close cooperation with the relevant social security, the school conclude and other municipal bodies dealing with these issues, management of urban sports facilities owned by the municipality, financing through the municipal budget of the activity of the sports organization. In France, the role of local authorities and their actions in the field of physical culture and sport are reduced to three groups of tasks: construction and modernization of sports facilities, organization of different types of physical activity and sports for all groups and the population, financing the municipal sport. In the United States, the country where sport is truly on a high pedestal, state and the city sport administrations take care of planning, construction, and operation of sport facilities on the territory in the municipalities, financing of sport projects, attracting new professional teams in the cities, which will have a positive effect on them, holding various sport events. Here is a table that shows the share of municipal funding compared to that of the state. It is obvious that in Europe, the financing of sports by municipalities is dominant over the financing by the state in the countries with great sport achievements. Those that I have mentioned so far: Germany, Great Britain, France, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Scandinavian countries, Switzerland. You can see the percent of share of government and the share of local community in every country. The financing of sports by the municipalities in Bulgaria has always been mentioned as an important task in the sports policy pursued by the state. It is acknowledged that the municipalities have the important task of developing grassroots sports. The municipalities in Bulgaria are obligated to create and adopt ordinance on the terms and conditions for financial support of the sports club operating in its territory. The most common funding requirements are the sports clubs to have a seat in the address of management of the territory of the respective municipality, to be registered as non-profit legal entities, to be entered in the public register of legal entities developing public benefit activity kept by the Ministry of Justice, and in the register of Ministry and Health and Sports, to be member of the respective sports federation, not to have a financial obligation to the respective municipality, to comply with the Accounting Act, and if it's possible, to have coaches with the appropriate professional qualification. We must admit that criteria according to which municipalities finance sports clubs on their territory are quite strict. It is required to have achieved result in the international sports calendar, ICN, the state sports calendar, DCC for the previous year, to have competitors who have participated and qualified for the Balkan, European and World Championships for the previous year, to stimulate children's and young sports by creating teams by age groups to participate in the state championship, to organize and hold traditional for the municipalities sports events by the sports clubs, to be organized and conducted by the clubs at the sport events on the territory of the municipality. Existence of own sports and material base, to have their own sources of income and others. The data here I illustrate the predominating financing of sports in Bulgaria at the expense of state budget and municipal budgets. The share of companies and households is much smaller. I don't not want to mention the extremely irrational and pointless investment of funds under the Rural Development Program, under which hundreds of thousands of euros were spent on building a sport base in small settlements depopulated without young people, which facilities are now dead or destroyed and desolate. The conclusion is that funds either from the state or municipal budget or from Europe programs should be spent more efficiently, targeted solely for the purpose of sport. This means to control by the state and municipal administration, which are responsible for the successful implementation of state policy in sports. Thank you for your attention and the opportunity to participate in this conference. Have a nice day. If you have some questions, I'm here.
Thank you for your presentation. Anyone have questions? Yes. Thank you, Dr. Borisov. It's a really interesting issue, and I think you will continue working there. And the next presentation will be Ariona Sela. Are you here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we hear you.
Yes. How are you?
Thanks. How are you?
So I will share my fine. I will share my screen right now.
Okay.
Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
No, we can see it.
Okay.
You have to press
Okay,
present now.
Yes, but wait a minute. I'm trying. Yes, okay. I think you can see it right now, right?
No, I don't see the screen.
No? I already shared it. I don't know why.
As suggested,
Right now?
try to
See?
minimize main window to be not on full screen has been suggested.
Sorry? Is it okay?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Is it okay? Can you see my screen? Is it okay?
No, I don't see. The others, can you see?
No.
I don't know why.
Yeah, it's coming, I guess.
Wait a minute. Now I stopped sharing because I need. Wait a minute. Let me start again because when you said yes, I stopped sharing. So is it okay now?
No.
How about now?
No.
No. I don't know what the problem is, but because
No.
no.
It's coming.
I don't know. Should I
Yeah,
start
yeah,
without
we get the screen
sharing
now.
my presentation? How? Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Oh, final. Okay. So my name is Ariana Cheda. Yes. Can you hear? Can you hear me?
There is some problem with your sound. Sometimes it's not coming in full
Yes. Can you
sentence.
hear me?
Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Uh,
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, we hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
presentation, the topic of my presentation for my research paper is the impact of early internationalization in firm performance, the case of Western Balkan countries. So internationalization is very important for survival and growth of firm, especially in small and open economies such as the transition countries of Western Balkan countries, because these economies are small and have small domestic market size, and therefore a small demand, relatively small demand. It's very important from these countries to expand in international markets so they can experience growth in this market. Normally, we have seen an increasing number of early and rapidly internationalizing firms in the last 2 decades, especially in emerging countries such as China or India. These firms are generally small and medium firms and have survived the international market despite of the lack of their resources and experience, because they internationalize very rapidly, very early and rapidly. With this increasing number of these firms internationalizing very early, we have seen also an interest in the literature studying this type of firm. If you see the literature of internationalization of firms, the most of the recent studies are concentrated in this type of firms. However, this large literature, this literature is concentrated in emerging economies mostly, and we have seen a gap of literature or very few studies in transition countries, especially in Western Balkan countries, where we have not encountered any other any other research paper that study this topic. But internationalization in early internationalization of these firms in these countries can be a little bit risky, because these countries have very different environment compared to developed economies and even emerging economies. They are going through a process of transition in their economies and institutional framework. Therefore, the aim of this paper is to analyze the impact of earliness of internationalization in international performance in this region. So, as I said, despite the growing despite the growing literature, we have a gap that should be fulfilled. To the best of our knowledge, there is no other study in the region of Western Balkan countries that analyzes this concept. So, looking at the literature review, we can say that early of our internationalization, of firm internationalization, is a phenomenon mostly associated with two types of some firms, with born global firms, or in the literature they are called born global firms, and international new venture firms. So, according to the definition in the literature, the born global firms are entrepreneurial startups that from their inception or shortly after their inception, they seek to drive a substantial amount of revenues from sales in international market. While international new ventures are a business organization, according to the definition in the literature, they are business organizations that shortly after their inception, they seek to drive competitive advantage for usage of the resources and sales in international markets in different countries. In general, if you see at these two types of at these two definitions, you can see that these definitions are very, very similar to each other, and there is no clear distinction in the literature that distinguish these two types of firms. There is no clear distinction in the literature. So these two types of definitions sometimes, or these two types of concepts sometimes are used interchangeably in the literature. In general, this type of firms are small and medium firms that they internationalize very early and rapidly, and they skip the stages that are described from the Uppsala model of internationalization. According to the Uppsala theory of internationalization, firms engage in this process by following steps. So first they establish their self in the domestic market, then they start with sporadic exporting, and then they continue with regular exporting, and then after they have gained enough experience and knowledge about foreign market, they engage in more advanced internationalization forms, such as, for example, investments. So clearly, this type of firms, born global firms and international new ventures, they do not follow this theory, or they do not behave according to this theory, because this type of firms, they internationalize very early after inception, and they do not follow stages. Another theory that is used in this field is the resource-based view. According to this theory, our firms are internationalized very early because they have some unique resources, and by internationalizing in foreign markets, they can develop even new resources and to keep the sustainability of their performance. So they have some kind of unique resources. That's why they have the confidence to go into international market very early. So researchers have identified between the advantages and disadvantages of early internationalization. So among the advantages, we can mention that the first mover advantage, which means that firms that enter market early and become the first investor tend to remain leader in those markets, as they create networks and relationships and are the first to access resources. Another advantage is learning advantage of newest, which means that these firms are very new and they do not have organizational routines. Therefore, they are very flexible to learn, and this learning, because they force themselves into these international markets due to very high competition. This learning can be very permanent, can have very permanent effect in dynamic capabilities of them. But despite their advantage of early internationalization, we have also disadvantages, such as, for example, lack of resources and capabilities, because these are small firms, small and medium firms, and they do not have these resources and capabilities. We also have disadvantages of liabilities of newness and youngness, which means that these firms are very new and young, and they have no much experience in international markets. Another disadvantage is the disadvantage coming from the environment of transition countries. They do not have let's say, for example, support from their governments or institution environment in their own country. So early internationalization can be very difficult for them. In this research article, we have taken data from BIP survey, which is Business Enterprise Environment and Enterprise Survey, conducted on 6 Western Balkan countries. The survey is conducted jointly by the World Bank, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, the European Investment Bank, and the European Commission. The survey is conducted in generally it's conducted in 145 countries, and the latest data published for the Western Balkan countries is of 2019. This survey has firm-level data and is representative of the sample of private sector in the region. So, based on this data, we defined our dependent variable, which our dependent variable is a firm international performance, which is measured at foreign sales to total sales. Well, our main independent variable in this case is earliness of internationalization, which is measured as the number of years from inception to the beginning of foreign sales, or differently said, earliness of internationalization is measured as first export year minus the inception year. Other independent variables that we have used are age, which is measured as the number of years since firm inception. Innovation, we have two variables of innovation, which are product and process innovation. So we have two dummies of these variables, which measure if the firm has conducted any product or process innovation in the last fiscal year. We also measure foreign ownership as the percentage of firms owned by private foreign individual, organization, or companies. International contact is another dummy variable which shows if the firm have international contact or not, while political is also a dummy variable which shows if the owner of the firm have been selected in any political position in the last fiscal year. We have also included 4 dummy variables for industries, which are retail, service, construction, and wholesale. In this slide, or in this table, I have a correlation matrix of the variables used in the model, and clearly we can see from this model, from this table, that I have no problem of multicollinearity in including this variable in the regression analysis. So we have conducted 3 regression analyses by dividing firm into small, medium, and large. We have divided firm into small, medium, and large, where small firms are the firms that have less than 50 employees, according to the European Commission definition, and medium firms are those firms that have more than 15 employees and less than 250 employees. So if you look at this table, we can clearly see we use the Euler's regression model, and you can clearly see that earliness of internationalization, which is the first variable here, has a negative impact in international performance of firms for small and medium and large firms. So based on result, we can conclude that based on this empirical result, we can conclude that earliness of internationalization has a negative effect in the international performance of firms, which means that and these results appear to be the same for all the type of firm, for small, medium, and large firm. So as we mentioned before, firm internationalization it can have its benefits for firms, but also is a phenomenon, is a process that require investment and capabilities, require resources and capabilities. Therefore, is very difficult for firms coming from transition countries to internationalize very early because they face multiple constraints, such as from their home countries, such as financial constraint, corruption, poor infrastructure, institutional infrastructure, and lack of government support. Therefore, we suggest that internationalization from this firm should be a well-studied decision and should not be rushed. So this was everything. Thank you. If you have any question.
Thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
It's a really interesting issue, and I will read your paper afterwards. Thank you for presentation. Anyone have questions? Okay. Then we will continue with Doğan Jarar.
Yes, hello. Yeah, I will share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
No, I don't see it. Do you see?
Okay, just okay. I don't know why the share button is inactive.
Paylaşım sayfası kapalı diyor bu şey butonu. Allah Allah.
Okay.
Sen paylaştın yeniden ekranı. Tamam de.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. So if you can see it, I will start.
Well, we see it. Yes.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Dua Jarrar, and I'm a Jordanian PhD candidate from the University of Sopron in Hungary. My main focus is on working regulations of refugees, and this paper is focusing on the changes in working regulations for refugees in Jordan. First, as an introduction, this article is focusing on the changes that has been implemented to the work regulations concerning refugees in Jordan and how these regulations differ between refugees groups based on their nationality. Jordan is considered as an upper middle income country with a population of almost 10 million, out of which 2.9 million are non-citizens, including refugees. And also Jordan suffers from the saturated job market, and with a highly skilled workforce. The Jordanian workforce is already one of the highly skilled workforce in the Middle East or the Arab region. So considering refugees' access to job market is a critical issue, not like other host communities in Europe. I would like just to clarify some glossaries that I will be using in this presentation. The refugee definition according to the UNHCR is someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of war, violence, or persecution for reason of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership of in a particular social group. UNRWA is the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in the Near East, and it's one of the UN agencies. UNHCR is the United Nations Higher Commissioner for Refugees, and MOL is the Ministry of Labor. In this studies, the concern is based on three questions. Are refugees allowed to work in Jordan? What are the main changes in the work and employment regulations concerning refugees in Jordan? And is there any difference in work regulations that have been implemented to different refugees groups? For example, Syrians versus Palestinian refugees. The methodology is based on collecting secondary data through reviewing a wide range of documents, including the Jordanian labor law and the changes that have been implemented in a selected period of time. Also, the reports and the statistics of the UN agencies and the humanitarian organizations, and also the published media that focused on the issue. Therefore, the study is based on a comparative study approach that compares the changes in regulation over time and toward different groups of refugees. In this presentation, the sequence will be as you can see. I will start with some figures on the current situation and the historical refugees waves to Jordan. Then discussing the refugees' access to work and how it was changed over time with a focus on the changes. And lastly, discuss how these regulations were affecting refugees differently. As you can see in this map, Jordan is the country in red. And it's a country that is well known of its safety in the Middle East and has received different waves of refugees over the course of decades from neighboring countries and other countries in the region. You can see in this picture the previous refugees waves in the 20th century, coming from Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, Armenia, and also some parts of Russia. And the current refugees crisis labeled with blue, such as Syria and also Iraq, Yemen, Sudan, and Libya. In this figure, or before starting with this figure, it's considered that Jordan has the second highest share of refugees per capita today. And in this figure, you can see that the registered refugees formulate almost 7.6 from the total population. Those are the refugees who are registered with the UNHCR, while 1.6 are Palestinian refugees from Gaza, who are entitled for a temporary Jordanian passport, but not the citizenship. While almost 2 million out of the Jordanian citizens are considered also as Palestinian refugees according to the UNRWA data, as they are entitled to the Jordanian citizenship, but they are still labeled as refugees. We can see also that the highest percentage of the registered refugees are coming from Syria, followed by Gaza, Iraq, and we have minorities of Yemen, Sudan, and other nationalities. So I will only focus on the first three groups, the Palestinians, the Gazans, the Syrians, and the Iraqis. Also, to be more focused on the working population of the refugees, we can see that those who are between the ages of 18 to 59 formulate almost 46% of the total population of the refugees, which are almost 420,000 refugees ready to work. Also, to talk about the waves of the refugees, or a little bit of the history of these waves, we have the major three groups: the Palestinians, the Iraqis, and Syrians. First, the Palestinian refugees are considered, or Palestinians in general, are considered the biggest group of non-Jordanians who are living today in Jordan. And they almost formulate half of the Jordanian population, or half of the Jordanian population are coming from Palestinian origins, but not all of them are refugees today. They came through many waves, starting from 1948 and 1967, and later with other waves in the 90s and in 2013 until 2017. Those who fled in 1948 and 1967 received the Jordanian citizenship, as West Bank became part of Jordan in 1951. However, this excludes people from Gaza, as Gaza wasn't a part of West Bank. It has never been a part of West Bank. And also, the last part came after in the 90s, after the conflict in Gulf, and followed by the Palestinians who fled from Syria and Iraq in the recent years. The second group is the Iraqis, who came in the 90s and also after 2002, after the US invasion of Iraq. And it was believed that they reached in 2007 1 million. but it was very difficult to determine the number of people who entered Jordan because of the open borders policy on that time. And today we only have almost 67,000 Iraqi refugees in Jordan. Syrian, they came to Jordan, or they started fleeing to Jordan since 2011, and today Jordan has almost 660,000 refugees. To talk about the access of refugees to the job market, it's very important to mention that the Jordanian market is a little bit complicated, and we have closed jobs only for Jordanian citizens. And this list is very wide. So the closed jobs are two types. The first type is that these jobs are closed without any permission to others. So it's only for Jordanians, and they are allowed to work for. And this includes administrative, sales, decoration, and mechanical and electrical maintenance, also hairdressing. And also we can see the closed jobs that companies can get permission or exemption to have an employee from outside the Jordanian nationalities from the Ministry of Labor. And the sectors are wide, but for example, engineering, medical, education and vocational training, communication technology, and banking industry. But the organizations need to prove that they couldn't find the qualified Jordanian employees, so this is why they hired non-Jordanian. And this is also applied to anyone who is not Jordanian. So the refugees compete in parallel with other nationalities, not only refugees. We don't have specific regulations only for refugees, but we have some facilities that we will see later for some groups. The open jobs are limited to construction, agriculture, and manufacturing and services. Also, we have the open jobs for rare jobs, or those who need a high specialty, such as new technologies or jobs that Jordanian cannot perform, and jobs that also are not available in Jordan. Also, we have the foreign investments. So, for example, if an Iraqi or Syrian investor registered his company in Jordan and they start to operate, they can hire people from other citizens, but it's with a specific quotation. It can reach up to 30%. The main changes in this paper, its focus is only on two main changes. Before 2016, the Gazans who have been residing in Jordan since 1967 were free to work in any occupation. However, after 2016, they were requested to issue work permits. And this affected, as we mentioned, 150,000 of the Gazans population in Jordan. And in 2019, the previously mentioned the closed and open job list, it was created only in 2019. And before that, it was only limited to 11 professions. And the exemption was applied to the to the other professions. The difference between employment regulations over refugees groups, we can see that Gazans were the most benefited group, but lately they became the lowest benefited group. So after 2016, they faced many difficulties in issuing work permits, especially that it costs more for them than other refugees. And also, they are not entitled to funds like, for example, what Syrian refugees receive. The Iraqi refugees are more benefited than the Gazans. They can. They are almost registered as investors in the country, and being registered as an investor, you can be entitled to a residence permit with all the facilities that follow that. And also as investor, they hire other Iraqis through the quotation in their companies. The most benefited group from the current regulation is the Syrian refugees. First, eligible to receive basic aid and financial assistance from international organizations, which other refugees are not entitled for. Also, all the funded projects and education projects in Jordan that lead to job market, they were mainly offered for Syrian refugees. And also there is an agreement between Jordan and the EU that was signed in 2016, Jordan Compact. In order to get so many facilities to enter the EU market, Jordan was requested to give 200,000 work opportunity for Syrians, which it has reached by the end of 2019, 159 work permits. Finally, the recommendations. In this paper, after seeing the regulations, I came out with 4 recommendations. First, distinguish between the regulations concerning refugees and non-Jordanians, especially that we have a huge Egyptian workforce. So if we distinguish between the 2 workforces, it would be better by opening the job access first to refugees and then allow other expatriates to enter it. Also increase the open jobs categories to include other professions with putting some quotations or limitations to control the access of also the Jordanians to these jobs. Also taking into consideration the years in which these refugees have been residing in Jordan. For example, the Gazans have been residing in Jordan since 1967, and they should be entitled for work. And lastly, if we leave refugees without a proper access to job market, they will become more dependent on humanitarian aids in the case of the Syrian. And also it will make them feel isolated and not really integrated in the host community, which may lead to harmful results. That's all, and thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. And our last presentation will be Diana Stochkova, I guess.
Yes.
Hello, welcome.
1 minute. Okay, try to. Well. Now, is it seen?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Good.
we see it.
Let's start from the beginning. Well, okay, I promise I'll be very, very brief to expose my statement, the conclusions that I made on the topic, the role of the gold in condition of economic crisis. I'm professor in the University of Agribusiness and Rural Development in Plovdiv, Department of Finance. Well, every investor looks for stable and secure investments, such as those in precious metals, as we've seen lately. Many governments decide to solve the economic and financial problems by printing money. But we see that very often these measures lead to economic instability. And the reaction of the market is a rising interest to precious metals, basically gold. I will not make historical observation what is gold standard, because I am sure that everyone knows the gold standard is kind of monetary system, and it is well known that the very stable monetary system ever was golden standard, which took place at the second half of 19th century till beginning of 12th century. This system was abandoned finally in 1971 and was announced by the President Nixon, who announced that the dollar was not convertible into gold anymore. And we know very well that contemporary money are not convertible into anything else. They are backed, contemporary money is backed by the gross domestic product. But still, gold retains other important functions in the modern economic system, because it is still important financial asset for governments and central banks. This figure shows what is the ratio between gold reserves of the central banks and the money in circulation. And we see that in such countries as India, Australia, China, Japan, South Korea, Hong Kong, large economies, rich economy, but they are not, they don't have so much gold reserves. The main question I want to give the answer now is, should we invest in gold nowadays? In order to answer these questions, we have to know that there are two basic ways of investment in gold. The first way is investing in gold, purchasing standard coins and bars of pure gold. What is the advantage of this kind of investing? The main advantage is that these bargains, purchasing investment gold, is free from value-added tax. The second way, investing in gold jewelry, for us women is very attractive, but as kind of investment, it has some disadvantages. The first disadvantage of buying gold jewelry is that value-added tax is charged, is included into the gold jewelry price. Additional, we have to put into this price the value of labor. So the stock price of gold is lower than the price of gold jewelry. Last night I checked at the international markets and saw that on September 25th at 17.15 New York time, the price of the gold in US dollars was 1,861 for 1 troy ounce. This is the measure that gold, investment gold, is bargained at international markets. This chart shows the tendency for a long period from the second half of last century till the beginning of this century. What we observe, we can see that there is strength tendency of raising the price of the gold, of course, with typical fluctuations. If you take a look on monthly balance sheet on the Bulgarian National Bank issuing department, we will see what is the value of monetary gold and other instrument in monetary gold that is kept in our Central National Bank. It is more than 2 billion euros, the equivalent of this Bulgarian price, the price in Bulgarian levers. What causes fluctuation in gold price? There are many and very important factors. The most important factors that cause fluctuation is the law of supply and demand. Every student, even in first year of university, knows what is the action of law of supply and demand, market law. Then the second factor is inflation. Money is always under this factor. As Milton Friedman said, inflation is always and everywhere money event. Then come interest rates. Political instability is very important factor too, foreign exchange market movements, and nowadays we can add such a severe factor like coronavirus. That's why is the question, what will expect? What will be our expectation till the end of this year, next year, for the future? How will be changed this price of gold? Many financial analysts are convinced that the crisis will deep in the coming years, and this will ensure rising gold prices. In December, the price of the gold is expected to slow down a little bit. But the next year, we see that the price of the gold will remain at high levels. Next December, it will be the most highest level of the price of the gold. Here you can see top 10 of the countries with the largest gold reserves. It is obvious when the gold is so precious, every country tries to keep as large gold reserves as it can. The first top 10 countries are United States with the huge amount of reserves in tons. Then Germany, Italy, France, Russia, China, Switzerland, Japan, Netherlands, India. Turkey is very close to these first 10 countries with 583 tons. Bulgaria takes 47th place, a little bit more than 40 tons of gold that is kept in our treasury. What is the final conclusion of this main question? Is gold a safe investment? And the answer is investing in gold can be profitable in combination with other financial instruments that the money politician knows. This requires a financial culture first and great responsibility from all investors, governments, and private investors. So I think all these young people that will choose our university to study finance will gain financial culture and will become very successful at international markets investing in gold. This was my brief explanation. Thank you very much for your patience and attention.
We thank you for your presentation. And we now know where to invest in the future. Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Okay, I think no one has questions, and we can officially close our session. Thanks for coming and presenting your papers and also participating in this Libanese Congress series. I hope I will see you in the next Congress series and face to face. I hope so. So now I'm stopping the record.